Welcome back to Backyard Builds. I've got a fresh project in the shed, so let's get stuck into it. Alright, so finally got my template worked out and screwed on in position, pretty much where I need. Yeah, it probably pushed itself back a little bit, but that's alright. So these areas were going down and these areas were going up. So we're going to do these ones now, get them out of the way. We're going to sink them to the same depth as this, and then we're going to pull them the same way up. So this is it's going to get a bit tricky. So do these ones, get the whole panel flat, fold it up, screw all this back on, do these ones, get the whole panel flat. Then we'll trim this edge to suit the floor, we'll trim out the horseshoe, be ready to go. Didn't work how I wanted it, but that's fine. There was more of me trying to take shortcuts. But I still have a result either way. It did still do the pressing like I wanted, but my initial tool was too small, and then the second tool I used was too big, so it sort of chewed up the corners a little bit. So what I've done today is I've gone and bought key steel. This is 16 by 16, hopefully you can see that. It's square bar, that's what the tooling shape size is in the PH M560. So I've gone and made up another tool. So this is just a bit of key steel on the end, and I've gone and made like a 25mm die. Got quite a nice shape, I'm pretty happy with that, and that was just done with the pocket lathe, which is the angle grinder. This tool fits real nice up into the corners, and even on these pointy ones. So what I'm hoping is I can screw my hammer forms back on, jam this in the machine, and it will just tidy it all up, and I'll be golden. All right, so enough talking, time for doing. I made a miscalculation. I actually thought my fingers were a lot shorter. Problem is it's catching on that back fold, which is a problem because I don't want to crush it. That's why I haven't pulled the arm down. What I'm going to try is I've just got like a bit of 20 by 10 flat bar, which appears to be enough to get me out of trouble. A bit tricky with one. There, pinned. Loosen this nut off. Loosen off the other side as well. Should be able to get clamping pressure on that. Still where I need it. I need 62 degrees. 63, and nailed it. sneaky little work through. Alright, cool. Now I need to do the other fold. That worked. I didn't think that was going to work. Just worked myself out of the corner. Whew. Done it again. This one might be alright. Let's put that on there this time. Got to go to about there. One floored pan. It's not finished yet, but remember we still got to do our raised seat mount, so that looks a hair over. That's fine, we can put that back in here. Like so. Let's get that one. In there and give it one of those ones. That looks better. Right. Back to the hammer. Alright, you can see that I've marked the pattern, did a little bit of flattening on these. Sorry, marked out the cutouts, not the pattern, traced it off the template off the cardboard. So now I'm just going to quickly rough cut these out with slice and dice, and then I'll just trim them up by hand. And then we will see how it fits. So there you have it, first floor pan fabbed. Notched around that body mount, around the sills. Ended up having to take just a hair more just to clear this inner panel. It doesn't sit down, but the bolt's still sitting there. Remember, I've got that hole still there, but we've still got to work out what we want to do back here. But that area will all get worked out at the same time the tunnel does. As you can see, I've got the cardboard template flipped over, sitting in that passenger side, and it's going to work. Just sitting up there because of like the factory jack mount, but pretty confident it's going to work. I'm just going to chuck the seat in so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, pretty much there. So yeah, that is the driver's side piece made up. I'm going to put this on a long time lapse here in a second, and I'm going to get the passenger side caught up. So probably see you back here in a minute due to the power of editing. But be another 5 or 6 hours till I've got that pan caught up. So yeah, cut to time lapse. So it's a fresh week. Same video, but fresh week. So the floors got knocked up a little bit before. They're there. What my next task was is starting the tunnel. So I didn't get filming of this because it's just me standing over there on the kick shrinker stretcher, just making a couple of shapes. So what I've done is I've worked out sort of the clearance I need. It doesn't look like a lot, but this cardboard's pretty fat on here, protecting the drive shaft, carbon fibre drive shaft too. It's about a 4-inch shaft if you measure across the yoke, and it's about the same. So by the time the cardboard comes off, it's about a 1/2 inch clearance through there, so you'll be able to get your finger in there. I've made a shape at the rear because I know the floor is going to come through to about here somewhere, but I'll trim that off later. This shape is the same as this external shape, and what you can see here is the tunnel is going to run uphill. Now, for everyone who says, oh, there's not enough clearance, this is at ride height, and when it's fully lowered, that bump, let's get that out of the way, it only comes, like, it doesn't move that much. It's going to be fine. So there's going to be absolute bucket load of clearance, more clearance than we need here. The other thing we need to account for is that shifter needs to sit there somewhere, or about there. It's going to sit about there with its own mount. So I've actually moved, you can see where the original top hat was here. If I can spin around without looking at my crutch, you can see where the original top hat was, and I'm just moving it back, purely moving it back just to accommodate the shifter standing there. It's just because I didn't want to cut into this, because that's a structural element. Now you'll see it runs under the tail shaft, that's going to get cut out. What I'm going to do now is make this inner profile. Remembering it's going to be a funny profile because the whole tunnel is running back from here. The tunnel will have a join probably here somewhere where it might step up and go over the rest of the gearbox, but that'll be the next piece. Might make a wire frame for that, but for now let's concentrate on getting we're going to get this made up so it can sit in place properly, because this still needs another angle on top so it actually hits the bottom of the floor. Then it all gets welded, becomes one big buckled mess. And then once that's fabricated, we'll start making the cardboard templates for our tunnel. So let's get back into it. So what you can see here, guys, is got those sections tacked onto the main. I've cut the guts out and I've made the straps go on the inside. I'm just about to tack this one in. Then I'll check it back in the car. Everything's looking pretty good at the moment, but the reason I've just got this clamp there is so it doesn't spring closed while I'm doing it. I actually measured it before I cut it, wrote the measurement down, I've been double checking it. It's only moved less than 1/4 mil, so I'm not too concerned about that. So yeah, bit of welding to go. We'll get it all tacked up, check it first, and then I'll make the top angles next. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to clean up these sills a bit more. I need to get the actual old top hat section out of the way. It's just failing with the piece I need to make next. You can see my pen line here, so I know that I need the new top hat to be back of that line. So yeah, I'm just going to sand that off, level it up, and away we go.
Alright, so we're on to the next stage. It's currently 10 to 6 in the morning. It's raining, so hopefully the mic's not making that too loud for you. That was loud. But today, I'm going to get this center tunnel section done, and then we'll start working out the firewall piece. So yeah, let's just keep moving, because Motor X is coming.
So what I need to do, I actually just need to, there's just a little piece back here, I just need to get that to sit a bit back, a bit further back.
but it's not going to matter too much because I'm going to make the tunnel just a bit longer anyway, because later on this will get cut in further down. We'll actually change the shape of that rear firewall a little bit, so I'm just going to leave myself a little bit extra length. But what I need to do first is cardboard. I need to make it in cardboard. So this was my first template. I actually just cut it a bit too high. We got the curve on the back of the tunnel, worked out where the steps were, but yeah, just cut it too high. This is still left long anyway. So that was my first one. This is my second. This is my good one. This one I'm happy with. Just marked out where the brace is because I want to bead roll this area. Not doing anything up the top because the shifter needs to sit about there somewhere. Yes, I'm just going to draw a cute little pattern here that I'm going to bead roll out and then transfer it to metal. Got a transfer marked out on steel. Now I've got an English wheel and try and raise where my beads are, because obviously when we bead roll it, it's going to move. So just going to mark that center line on the other side, and then do some wheeling. Again, hopefully the rain's not too loud. Just done a bit of pre-stretch. It's a very soft bead. I'm talking like absolutely bugger all. It's just going to give a nice little bit of definition. Worst case, if it's not deep enough, I'll just run it a bit deeper and go again. But I've got this all set up. I have got the artwork dies in. I feel like I'm missing a die for some reason. I don't know if I put it down or if I just didn't get it. Doesn't matter. These will work. I need to mark out first where it folds up afterwards. So I might go and do that before I do this, just so I don't make it really hard on myself later on. And then I'll bead roll it. So, turn those off. I've got my runways marked out, as you can see. Dotted line is just the center of my radius. The radius on those tunnel is, the diameter is 100 mil, so the radius is 50. And when you project that out as a chord length, if I'm remembering my second year of my apprenticeship right, it works out at 80 mil. So I've done 100 times pi divided by 4, which is 78 point 80 mils pretty close. We can work around the textile line being a bit either way. These aren't my rollers, as you probably see. These are actually a friend of mine's who hasn't picked them up. Kane, stuff's still at my house, but that's all right because I'm going to make use of it today. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to be a bit lazy. I'm going to put the dotted line, looking at the dotted line through there. Just go cheap and fold it up like that. It's not the right way to do it. That's what I'm going to do today. And I can still come back and chase it all a little bit later, so that's all right. Up there. Just flex it around. Now I know that's still a bit wide. I'd rather check that in the car first and then come around to the Clicco piece for the back because it does fit neatly. And I'll just keep chasing it until that fits in there sweet, and then I should be okay. So camera went flat,
but that's all right. I just marked the back a little more, just trimmed the hair off it just to get it to sit a bit nicer. I've just cleccoed 2 angles in. It just holds, sort of pinches it in, because if it's too tight, it's a bit of a pain to get on. Also just trimmed a hair off the bottom edge of that because of where that top hat is. But it's sitting down pretty good. This is all clear. I didn't want to overcut it until I knew where all this was. So you can see it's still good. Now remember that this pan was slightly shorter than this pan. Let me run around the other side. Because passenger side pan, just being a little bit longer, just leaves less of a gap. But that's fine. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make angle pieces here on both sides, probably use this angle, and I'll weld those to the tunnel, and then they'll eventually get welded to the floor to make it one big unit. Just saves having to flange this or flange the floor and just being a pain in the ass. But yes, so that's sitting there. I actually just want to try and clecco it to the top of that, top of the top hat, because that'll hold some strength in it. Also want to try and get some kleckos in this rear loop, because it'll also help center it in the car at the bottom. And then yeah, I'll start making a couple of angles, and then I'll mark and weld those on, and yes, it'll be one tunnel unit. Yes, pretty happy with how that looks in there so far. So, because we made that pan a bit smaller than we made that one, we're still going to do the same on the other side. I've just made like this little filler angle, because all this will get welded together in one piece. Pretty straightforward. What I am going to do is I am going to attach it to the floor pan before I attach it to the tunnel. I thought about doing it the other way, going tunnel first before floor pan. But then when I started thinking about this area where it's tight, I wasn't going to be able to get in there to sand it properly, whereas I can still lay my sander over on its side and do it how I want. May not be as neat that way, but it's going to be easier if this is all in the car. So I've got that one. I had that one from earlier, which is fine, but I want to make it a little bit neater. So I've just made up another quick cardboard one, and that'll sit in there like that. And then I'll join all these to the floors. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Probably use the angle I've got there. I've already made this other little angle here, and yeah, I might just tidy up and change this one, but I'll wait and see. So yes, getting there and making one piece. So what you can see there, guys, is a flange tacked to the outside edge of the pan. I've just thrown all that filler wire on the ground. That's cool. So if I can do this one-handed, which I can. It's not easy, but I can do it one-handed. Drop that back in there. It's still a bit warm. That's where that sits now. And you can see it's just got a gap, but it's just because that's curled over a little bit. Only because there's no support down that end yet. But you can see how that lip sits now. What I will do later is I'll just probably curve that edge off and tidy it up. That'll obviously be still hot. That will pin back down to that. And what it'll do is we'll weld that lip up to the tunnel at a later date. All we're going to do for Motor X is we're just going to weld and dress this, pretty it all up, and we're just going to screw through it just to hold it in place for now. That'll be strong enough for it to get home. So yes, I've got to do other side next. Yes, that's one looking like that. So before I go and weld this, I thought I'd just explain the process. Getting this all tacked up. You saw me tack it. What I do was I'd go in betweens, and so on, until they sort of get to this spacing. It's about 6mm spacing. Sometimes I might go a little bit tighter,
but I'm not too worried about it on this piece. What I am going to do before I even weld it is, see if you can see it in the camera. See how it's got a bit of a whoop in it? It actually sort of kicks up like that. Bit hard to tell. It sort of sits a bit low all the way through the guts. So I'm just going to dress that up first until it's nice and flat, and then I'll come through and zap it. So yeah, let's put it in the hammer, just give it a quick hit. So I've just got flat upper, 36-inch crown lower, and remember it's dipping down, so we want to push it back up. Alright, so we just gave that quick hit. You can see it already looks flatter. There's no light sort of getting trapped under that ruler. It all sits in there nice and flat now. Same down here. This area is a little bit trickier to dress, but I can do that by hand later. So yes, some people would then sand this, and I have done it in the past. I've sanded this flat before I've welded it. I actually did it on the other side, but I'm sort of happy with how that sits. So I might just give it a quick touch up just to make sure it's where I want. I've just got my 2-inch roll lock, which just fits in there enough to sand. So I'll give it a quick hit. So apart from those sexy legs you can see, just here is, whoop, where is it? There. See how this side's just still like a bit lower than this side? It's sort of everywhere else is nice and fairly even. It doesn't look like that, it's just literally just the gap between the tacks. But yeah, just this area in these little spots needs a little dress. But that's basically what I would normally look for before I weld something up. So it's now all welded up, which is fine. You can also almost see it in the light, it's still a little bit wobbly, but that's just because it shrinks. What it has done with my trusty ruler is you can see that it's shrunk and it's dropped in the center, which we knew was going to happen. Can't avoid that, always going to happen, not too worried about it. We need to dress that back into shape. So before, how bad it feels. It's not too bad, but before I do anything, I'll probably just give it a quick hit, maybe on the underside, just knock any points off. Might even give it a quick hit on the top just to knock the sharp off the top of the weld. Back over to the hammer, and then back here to sand, and back to the hammer, back here to sand, maybe some hand hammering. Bit of a process to get this nice and flat, but I'm going to put this on a time lapse and you might see how it goes. So let's do it. Alright, so I've sanded and dressed those welds. The door's so squeaky, I should really lube it up. Let's take a look. So what I want to do next is I'm actually going to, my pencil here, I'm going to get underneath and mark the bottom of the floor pan to the tunnel, so I can trim the tunnel off just so that all the excess meat's off it. I'm then going to weld that rear hoop to the back of the tunnel, and that'll make it a unit. I can put this in with that, and then I can pin the sides of the floor pans to the tunnel, and we'll make a nice strong structure. So yeah. Alright, so I've got this big clamp mess, because I just want to make sure it's sat tight, which it does.
Sits where I want it to sit, which is cool. Now I'm going to pull all the clamps off, all the clecos off, and trim the tunnel to suit. And then zip, 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 zap it on. What I'm going to do is where some of these texture lines, where are we? Some of these texture lines inside from when we fold it, put little reference marks, just so I know where it needs to sit, because I don't want it to sit sort of like skewed one way or skewed the other. So yeah, let's make the tunnel a piece. We now have the rear part of the tunnel in. Got both our floor pans in, we've got flanges made and welded on. And that's where we're going to end this week. So I hope you've enjoyed watching the fabrication of the floors and the tunnel and the cross member. It's just a bit of an insight for you all, hopefully. Next week, we're going to work on the front. We're going to get those front toe boards done, the front section of the tunnel and the firewall. So yes, make sure you come down to Motorex, check this out. It'll be on the S&S custom stand. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the places. And I'll see you next week on Backyard Builds. Just